What's up? It's Joshua. So the reading at the USCCB, the Catholic Church. Uh, our first reading is from. Oh no, that's the Gospel. Acts 13. And Barnabas and Paul went up to Asia Minor. And when they got there, they preached the good news. But all the Jews in Asia Minor didn't accept it and got jealous of them, and then kicked them out of their territory. But all the Gentiles were happy because they accepted the gospel and they had eternal life. But the Jews didn't have it, but they kicked Barnabas and Paul out of their territory. All right, I have a question. All right, so Israel, at this time when Barnabas and Paul go up to Asia Minor, right, to take the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ to the Gentiles, right, and they go up to Asia Minor. At this time, there's a war still going on. There's uprisings between Israel and the Romans, because even though the Romans, that's why they put Herod as made him the king, because they couldn't contain the Jews wouldn't submit, right? Because the temple was still there. It's still Nebuchadnezzar let them out, or Cyrus lets them out, and they go back to Israel out of Babylon, out of exile, and they go back to the promised land. They're always trying to get back to the promised land. That's why in 1948 you guys made up the United Nations promised land, because you guys were plagiarizing out of the Bible too, because the Jews are always trying to get back to the promised land, because there's all this stuff like that. You got to make Jesus went to the temple in Jerusalem as by the law. So all the Jews are still, like, Israel hasn't been completely, the temple's still there, which is the center of Judaism, right? The temple of the wall that Cyrus helped them build, right? It's still standing, right? But the Jews have been taken to Babylon, but then they got let go. They all come back to Israel. Why would any of them be in Asia Minor? Why would there be large collections of Jews in Asia Minor? There wouldn't be. Not yet. Israel's still there. The temple's still there. The temple hasn't been destroyed yet. So they wouldn't, and they haven't been dispersed. Right? They haven't been dispersed yet. Why would they leave the promised land that God gave them that's so important to them and move to Asia Minor? They wouldn't. There wouldn't be Jews in Asia Minor. There wouldn't be Jews up in Asia Minor to stone Paul or kick Barnabas and Paul out of Iconium or wherever. There wouldn't be any Jews up there. There would be you. Right? So I don't know, man. Like, why? I don't know how, like, there would be Greek people up there. Here's the other question I have. I have another question for Papa or a Bishop of Babylon, who Cardinal Dolan called a giant of the scripture. Here's the other question. So, Jesus picks all these illiterate fishermen, I will make you a fisher of men, like Habakkuk says. Why, God, do you let him be a fisher of men and fish us up with his dragnet and take all our stuff? It's in Habakkuk. That's probably not about Jesus, Jesus. I will make you a fisher of men. So anyway, there are all these illiterate fishermen, right? Jewish. Why is everything written in Greek? They could probably barely write Hebrew, but they write it all in Greek. They all knew Koine Greek. Why would they write it in Koine Greek? Because when Jesus never told them to go to the Gentiles. That's what Paul or Peter said in the dream. Jesus never said that. So why would they write all these letters in Koine Greek to Gentiles? Why would they do that? And how did they even learn Greek? They're a stupid fisherman, uneducated in the law. Blood is barely people because you can put new wine into an old wine skin. So where'd they learn Greek, and why is everything written in Greek? You know who would need everything written in Greek if you were a Roman and you took over Alexander the Great's empire and everybody spoke Greek. You would need it all written in Greek for them. Right? And why is Paul writing in Greek? I thought he was of a teacher of the law. How come Paul doesn't write anything in Hebrew either? He was like killing Christians because he's like such a son of Pharisees that he hated it, but he doesn't write anything in Hebrew. He writes it on Greek. Why does he always say, but according to the scriptures? Why is everything in the New Testament? According to the scriptures. Paul says, like, according to the scriptures. I don't even know how many times. You would think he'd say, according to the law, or by the law, because he was like an expert in the law. But apparently there were scriptures. What are the scriptures? You mean the law? I mean, Jesus Christ.